It's such a pleasure and honor to have you in the studio, Transmission Studio. How are you today?
Doing really well. It's great to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, I when I saw you moderating this panel for Kim's Convenience at Shack 15, I was like just so energized by your presence and the work that ACT does, which is right down the street from us. I was like, I knew I had to have you in. And so thank you for taking time out of your schedule.
Absolutely. And it's such a beautiful day.
I know. Hey, we were just kind of talking off camera about the summer, but I wanted to just start with maybe you introducing yourself because I find introductions a little bit elaborate, and I'm curious, like, how you would introduce your work and what compels you these days.
Absolutely. So I'm the artistic director at ACT, American Conservatory Theater. And I have held that job for now 7 years, which is kind of amazing because, of course, COVID took a bite out of theater making. So if you woke me up at 4 a.m. and asked me how long I've been here, I would say 4 years, but it's
Right.
seven. It's seven. I am a theater director.
Yes.
Prior to San Francisco, I had very much a New York-centric, Broadway-centric career. I have a Tony Award. I have a couple Obie Awards. That's the Off-Broadway Directing Award. So, see myself as a director first, and then artistic director as part of that, and sort of a big part of artistic direction for me through sitting here at ACT is about community building, is about making marriages between artists that I'm excited about. So I don't direct everything at ACT. And what gives me real pleasure is like hosting artists who are making stories that I feel our audiences can really engage with, that, maybe I shouldn't be the director of. Maybe it's, someone else has like that spark or that like the capacity to, best own that story. And then but then I also love going into the rehearsal hall and being a director and sharing stories with audiences. And what gives me big pleasure about like the San Francisco Bay Area audience is that they are vocal, they are committed. It's great to have sort of an ongoing relationship with audience, which was something that I was starting to yearn for, especially when I was directing on Broadway. There's something about like a wonderful thing to launch a show as a
Right.
director, and then in the commercial theater, you just don't know who that audience is.
Wow.
Like you'll never have a relationship with them except in a one-off way at a particular performance.
So fascinating.
And then they go away. And who are they? I don't know who they are.
And they're such an essential part of bringing the theater to life and the experience of it.
Oh, 100%. Because that is the art form, right? The art form is all about that call and response in, a windowless room. Let's tell a story.
Yeah.
And it's not just coming from the stage. You're absolutely right. It's like the synergy between, it's the magic between audience and artist.
I'm actually reminded of something you observed in the conversation you were having with Inns in the panel that I saw you in around what different audiences make possible. Like, I think it was him or you were kind of remarking on like big theaters and the anonymity, and then it allows or it kind of facilitates audiences to react in a certain way, whereas like the intimacy of a small theater, which I do find very magical.
Oh, yeah.
But it's kind of like interesting how each theater makes different reactions possible between audience members and between, or you were saying something too about like the pause that you need to do as actors to like allow for applause in huge theaters. I was like, I've never thought about that.
Yeah, no, you have to know your space. You have to know your room. Like right now we're hosting a wonderful theater company from San Francisco, Golden Thread.
Okay.
And they're using we use it mainly as an event space or a space for our young conservatory, like student actors. And right now they're putting on a very intimate 2-character play. And they have audience in this room on both sides. They're kind of like, looks like a tennis court. And and the actors are in between two sides of audience, and you can feel everyone's breath.
Whoa.
And you can feel the audience blushing at times. You get every human to human experience.
Whoa.
And it's in the same building as ACT's big girth theater, the Tony Remby Theater, which is a 1,000-seat three-tiered orchestra, mezzanine, balcony kind of space.
Wow.
And I love both. I mean, I love the experience of both, like both theater of scale as
Yes.
well as, oh, we're in a tiny room together.
Yes, listening to you speak to that reminds me of one of the first things that made me fall in love with theater as a medium, which was that kind of intimacy and intensity. And I wonder if we could actually start with kind of baby Pam and like your first encounter with theater before you even knew, because the other question is like, I'm always curious about people's journey with finding their role within a universe. So like, what first compels you by it? Like, was the first thing you saw that opened you up in theater? And then later, like, how do you find your role as a director? Because I feel like that's such a process, or it has been in my own journey of like, how do I want to be in this world?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I, as a little kid, had a bit of a stutter. And at times was quite self-conscious about speaking. But my puppets, I had a lot of stuffed animals, including some great puppets. My puppets didn't stutter.
Yeah.
So there was, you know, and that's sort of like a version of the classic thing of like a stutterer can sing fluidly.
Oof.
But my puppets didn't stutter. So they became very much an extension of me, like very, very important. And they, you know, it wasn't like I was like a nutty kid and I, you know, but like a real extension. And I see that in retrospect as like, oh yeah, that was a big part of, you know, like a stepping stone into theater. Then in junior high school, so this is outside Buffalo, New York, a good friend of mine, so a fellow, 12-year-old, 13-year-old, our junior high school lost its funding to do the spring show. So this 13-year-old said, well, but we need to do a show. And so he raised money from like dry cleaners and restaurants and rented a Methodist church. He wasn't a member, but a Methodist church across the street from the junior high, and said, we're putting on a show. And Pam, can you be in it? And so that was, oh, okay. So someone with like huge ambition
Right.
gave me a platform.
Wow.
And I feel like I've had a number of moments in my life when like more ambitious folk have said, we're going to build this thing. Do you want to come along?
Wow.
But so that was junior high. So I acted a lot in junior high and high school. I was also an orchestra kid, so I also had that outlet. I was a good student, all that good stuff. But theater was very, very important. I directed one show in high school, a play by Thornton Wilder. And then I went to college. I went to the University of Toronto, and I had in my brain, oh, I need to get serious now. I'm 17. It's time to get serious.
I love that.
So you have to put
Relatable.
away, right? You have to put away like theatrical, artistic pursuits.
Okay.
Also, like this is like, you know, sort of mid-late 80s.
Right.
And the world said, I mean, I remember specifically multiple adults saying basically, if you can do anything else
Wow.
than the arts, do it. And I was like, well, I'm a very capable person. Of course, I can do other things.
Right.
So, you know, so I wound up majoring in economics and political science.
Wow.
And then after university, I immediately got into a PhD program at UC San Diego for political science. You know, pursue. Like I'm a good student, like I'm interested.
Thriving.
And, you know, and so for me, the other side of the country, San Diego, it's the first time I saw like day glow colored vegetation.
Yeah, I really
You know, also like a kid from the 80s are sort of like, wait, that color's real? That color's in nature?
Yes.
I thought it was like, you know, British pop, right?
Right.
Like the day glow
I love
stuff.
that detail.
So there I'm in San Diego, and I realized pretty early on, oh, I need to change my definition of serious. It's not about the thing that I want to be serious about. It's my relationship to the thing. And I had like the big revelation of, oh, a PhD is about writing a book, is about, you know, in the social sciences, you have to have answerable questions. Like there is a science aspect to social science, answerable questions. And so the questions kept on getting smaller and smaller in order to be answerable.
Oof.
And I wasn't as interested in that. I just wasn't.
So was that what precipitated the reckoning? Like, was it an inner kind of, okay.
Oh, completely. And
Wow.
I was doing some pre-dissertation research one summer. So this is like my second summer of school, pursuing a PhD. and in Madrid, Spain. And I just could not get myself to the Union Archives. It was like Madrid, so it's hot. It's really exciting after 10 p.m. It's a big city. But more than that, like it's also Madrid in the summer, July, August. And so the Union Archives are open from like 8 a.m. to 11 a.m.
Okay.
because it's too hot after that.
Oh, got it.
And I just like, I wasn't interested enough. I wasn't a self-starter.
Yeah.
So I had the big revelation of, okay, now that it isn't about fulfilling assignments, I'm no longer that kind of student. What am I interested in? And I'm not enough. My serious relationship to this isn't serious.
And during this time, were you still like seeking theater out and like your orchestra? Like, were you still involved?
Sure,
Okay.
for sure. I mean, but not as a director, as an actor, just like
Right.
as, you know, I mean, another pivotal point, like early on, childhood pivotal point. So I grew up in Toronto and Buffalo, New York. And there was a trip that my dad took me on when my mom was very pregnant with my sister.
Okay.
My sister's 9 years younger than me. So I'm like age 9. And my dad and I went to New York City. And my dad bought some tickets for us to like see stuff on Broadway. So I saw in really short order, long weekend, saw The Wiz.
Wow.
Completely stage appropriate, but and very exciting, right? In a Broadway house. And also another musical by Liz Swados called Runaways. Not kid appropriate.
Okay.
Like just not. Like there, like,
Never
you know,
heard of
like there were kids on stage.
Okay.
But they were runaways.
Got it.
Like, you know, like little sex workers, little hustlers, like runaways, right?
Yeah.
In like late 70s New York. And like those two things combined, and my dad, you know, did all the right stuff. If I got original cast albums, I got like, you know, all this stuff. And it was like this, I mean, The Wiz was hugely fantastic, but Runaways was like one of those things as a 9-year-old of like looking through a crazy keyhole
Yes.
of the world, knowing that I probably wasn't supposed to be looking through that keyhole.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic.
Wow.
So you know, it was core.
Yeah.
And my family definitely supported it. They were very nervous when I dropped out of grad school,
Right.
because what parent wouldn't be? What does that even mean? Because there's less of a roadmap. I won't say there isn't a roadmap at all,
Yeah.
but less of a roadmap in the arts.
Totally.
So I dropped out of a PhD program. I didn't feel ready to move to New York. I felt New York, like I felt a draw, but it felt too big. It felt too big and scary. So stayed in San Diego a bit, you know, worked with some students, you know, at San Diego. So like put up a play in a parking lot, put up a play. I had a student card still, could sign out space on campus, came clean with my advisors that, you know, it's going to wind stuff down.
Do you remember what that felt like to make that decision to pivot? And like, even if you don't really know what the roadmap is, you've kind of decided.
Yeah, and you start speaking about it publicly, right? So it's one thing to make the decision late at night, you know, in Madrid, and it's another thing to start talking about it, and almost like forgetting how dire that decision felt.
Oh, yeah.
But then people start reflecting it back to you, and the reflection back to me was sort of like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Oh,
yeah,
good. Yeah.
oh yeah, right, I get it. Like that sounds right. Like almost like we've been waiting for you to do this.
Oh, great.
So it was a lot of that. I spent a little bit of time in San Diego after that, and then again didn't feel ready to move to New York, so moved back to one of my hometowns, Toronto. Did some stage management, assisted on a big musical that had done its Broadway moment, but was now having its like, you know, national tour, and then a sit-down production in Toronto. Wound up putting the musical Tommy, wound up putting that up with another younger director, because it was like, you know, the 4th generation of the Broadway show. So another younger director and you know, like all the like associate designers on Broadway. So all of a sudden, like my generation, I'm now in my late 20s, 27, and we put up this show, this big Broadway musical in Germany. And at that point, I felt like, oh, well, now I'm ready to move to New York because these people are doing it too.
Wow.
So moved to New York, thought I'd direct musicals because I'd just come off a big musical experience, and then started to direct a lot of new plays, in large part because some friends who were more ambitious than me
Here we go.
started a theater company. They started a theater company. Like they moved to New York having gotten acting MFAs from UC San Diego. So I knew them from that San Diego chapter. And they landed in New York and wanted to put on new plays.
Wow.
That and it's still a company, like a downtown company, 30 years later, that is doing really well, called Clubbed Thumb. And they kind of gave me the keys to the car.
It's like this constellation and all of the stars kind of, they find their way.
Yeah.
That's the roadmap.
Yeah, exactly.
It's trusting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like trusting and also like being open. You know, I mean, theater is an inherently collaborative art form. That's one of those
That's what it
phrases,
sounds like.
right? But most things in life are.
Yeah, that's very
Right?
true.
And so who is the person that you jive with? And all of a sudden you're talking about like, oh, we have a like interest.
Right.
Oh, we're now walking parallelly, at least for a project.
Right.
And some of those people, you know, become like collaborators for the next 50 years. Other people, you know, sort of go away, you know, after a 10-week chapter and maybe pop up 5 years later. Like it's, you know, and because I became a director of new plays, there was a certain point when playwrights I had started to work with, because normally, and now as an artistic director, I do this as well, like normally the first thing that you choose is the play,
Right.
and then you start staffing it up.
Okay.
Right. So, you know, you read a play, let's say, or you commission a playwright to write a play.
Oh, wow.
And then you start to be in conversation with that playwright about who are some directors that you as an artist want to work with or have worked with. And then as a producer, you sort of find like, oh yeah, there's overlap. Like we agree that it should be this person. And so there were some playwrights whose careers started to like go to that next level. And so I started to go to that next level with some writers.
Oh, so it's, yeah.
Yeah, you sort of start to find your geography.
That's beautiful. And as a director, I'm so curious about like, maybe it's, the answer is the contextual to like the moment in your life, but like are some of those guided by like the curiosities or the material, or like you're kind of drawn to a particular playwright, or like I'm so curious how you, Pam, have made certain decisions about what you want to direct and how you want to direct. Like what is that kind of like lens that you bring to directing?
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, sometimes it's being approached by, you know, whether it's a writer who's senior work or a producer who wants to introduce you to a writer who sort of thinks like there might be a shared sensibility. So sometimes it's external, you know, and sort of like, can you read this? I mean, I'm definitely, I'm drawn to plays that, and this is a broad category, but like plays that, or playwrights who really understand that language is action. And that there's, you know, and that characters can be inarticulate. Like I'm not saying it needs to at every moment, you know, sort of like, because that's more an essay. Like an essay is an articulate argument, but the attempt of characters to like get their point of view or get their objective across through language really excites me. I also am drawn to, they can be serious plays, and they also have to use humor. Like, I mean, I feel that way as a human being, you know, traversing the streets, traversing any room. I'm drawn to people that have a sensibility of like, oh, humor is part of life.
Yeah.
And so I like that in the, you know, in even a serious play world, that there's the ability not just for characters to know that they're funny, but also for the world to know that part of humanity is funny.
Those always seem so related to me, like deeply serious playwrights or comedians, like always like the Richard Pryors or the, you know, it's like,
absolutely,
we're right here with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
The absurdity.
Yeah, exactly. And there's something completely absurd about like this big blue marble, you know, in the universe, and somehow there are these sentient beings on it.
And it's still a skill though, right? Like all of these things are, you can have the shared sensibility, but again, like I've learned that the craft of actually making that communicable and felt as an experience for the audience and for everyone in the actual play, that's a whole other
Oh yeah.
level of skill.
Oh yeah. And it takes repetition, it takes a career. It takes also the intersection of, we were talking about this earlier, of like that what you build in the rehearsal hall, then introducing it to an audience.
Yeah.
And that's when you learn, oh, I think we have something here, which is also why I'm drawn to new plays. So that like a collaborator, like going through a process, I'm sitting side by side with a writer who can continue to sharpen their work.
Is that kind of a moment, or like what is a moment for you when you're reading something where you're like, is it like an actual laugh out loud, or like what is kind of a response where you're like, yes, this is a yes for me?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's a laugh out loud. I also feel now, X number of years into a professional career, that I definitely have some repeat, collaborators. That it's sort of like I will get a play from, a dear friend, like Bruce Norris. I directed, the first time I directed on Broadway was a play of his called Clybourne Park, and I take reading one of his plays very seriously, right? Because I want to continue that. Like it's not about continuing a friendship, but but it adds to it. It's about continuing that artistic relationship we have. And I feel, that there are, a handful of people that, I like to rise to the occasion of the worlds they build. And I feel that I can also really activate them.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Especially thinking about when that moment where you were feeling like the questions were getting smaller and smaller to become answerable. And in hearing you speak about these kind of like enduring collaborations where the questions widen and like, I imagine there's spiraling both down and up and around.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there's something really like second to second minutia about like the director's work with an actor, right? It's very, very, it's very granular. And then, at times it can also be really granular working with the playwright of like, let's try to land this laugh, or this thought goes on a little bit too long, and pitching ideas, that kind of thing. But then you're right that there's something about like, there's a spine of a play that is bigger than any one character arc. And you want to, at times as a director, keep a company, and that's designers, that's actors, and ultimately you learn from the audience. You want to make sure that the original impulse of what is the story, what is the spine of the whole story, is that on display, throughout the piece.
That's such a skill, such a powerful part of the work. And it reminds me of, I was looking at just to bring it to your current role at ACT, I was looking at the website and the language around the arts as something to inspire, which we hear a lot.
Yeah.
But then it was and provoke. Which I don't know you, but like that is kind of the energy that I felt from you, is like there's a provocation attached to these works of art. And that's something I really resonate with. And I'm kind of curious, like why it's important to provoke, not just inspire, in your own work or in the works you enjoy watching.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're two sides of one coin. And like I am all for a big entertainment, a big live entertainment, and people showing up at 8 p.m. and like the curtains going up, that and it like and people like in like go on the ride, and it really is like entertainment for the sake of entertainment. All for it. And ideally within that entertainment are also moments that you leave with as an audience member, as well as an actor, that like continue to resonate. Like you're not just able to turn the page immediately. And that kind of inspiration, provocation, like ideally, I'm old enough, maybe, been on the planet enough to know that I'm not convinced that like art changes the world. But I do feel that art can have a profound effect on individuals, and individuals then are collectives, and like the brain and heart and the guts can start to respond in a different way.
That's so beautiful.
Which is a provocation, right? Which is a like, well, let's it's not my job as an artist to say what the call for action is
Yes, I
necessarily,
agree.
but there is a call for action.
Right. And it's not up it's always so strange to me to pretend that we can also like manipulate and direct and would want to, and that
Yep.
that's the point of like a piece of music or a piece of
Yeah.
theater. But I do agree that it's like to provoke something and then have that kind of enter someone's soul and then have it transform, and then yeah, we're all a collective, so then it has a reverberation, but it's not so predictable, hopefully.
Yeah,
Is
that's
the
right.
point.
That's right.
And I know, so on this show, as we talked about, like we're really curious about the commitment to this, to San Francisco, and like what this city makes possible. And so I am curious, like you just said, you're the artistic director for 7 years here, which has been a pretty significant time of change here in San Francisco. So I am kind of curious, like what you feel, how you might characterize the San Francisco audience, specifically that you interact with or see, and also like what works resonate here that you find, if you see a pattern at all, or if it's more surprising than that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I do think, and this is probably true of any audience or any, sort of regional or, any audience, in any particular location. I do think that because I'm an audience member as well, we like to see some key element of ourselves reflected from the stage. I do also think that audiences have no problem, having that mirror held up and like there be an implicit critique or satire or something. Like I think even people like that.
Yeah.
Like we've like I directed a play that we commissioned by a fantastic writer Kate Atwell called Big Data. Did it a couple seasons ago, and B.D. Wong in Act One played. Let's call him his name was M, and he was like this metaphorical. He played like the algorithm. And he fulfilled wants and even like created needs that people didn't know they had, and then would fulfill them. So Act One was all that.
Wow.
And implicit in that there was a critique of like, is this healthy? Is this? But no one on stage ever really said that.
Important.
But Act One, some interactions felt a little hollow. Like there was like some mass consumerism. There was like, oh, I guess it's time to have kids. Like, it's like people being like sort of corralled into wanting and needing something and not even knowing how A led them to B. But it was like,
I love that.
But like B.D. Wong, the algorithm was like, just this way. Don't you want this? Don't you want this? And then Act Two, there was no intermission, but Act Two was a very naturalistic. So then these like adult children, which is one of my favorite like genres, the notion of an adult child. Like these adult children wound up visiting their parents, and their parents, somewhere maybe up in Marin, had been really hard to reach. And it was, now we're in like a living room setting, and these parents announced to the kids that they've gone off the grid. Like, and completely. And to the point where at the end of the play, they actually decide to kill themselves.
Oh, wow.
So like, and San Francisco Bay Area audiences ate it up with a spoon.
Really?
It was at once, like it felt very Bay Area, like
Yeah.
both like it's sort of the rhythms of speech, as well as, oh, I know those like they're not like the parents weren't quite old enough to have been true hippies, but like
Right.
like
They're legible.
exactly
Yeah.
like sort of like the next generation after hippie, and these adult kids felt like both like on the drift, so there were folks in their 30s who I think really related to that, and then there were audience in their, I don't know, 70s, late 60s who really related to the parents, and like, yeah, why does the iPhone keep on, like, why do I need generation 16? I'm just getting used to 12, all that, and beyond. And it felt like both a critique as like, well, but it's all starting here. Like all this stuff is kind of starting here.
That's the mirror too.
That's the mirror. And so that's exciting. Like, and a lot of humor. And as I said, like, that's what gets you through. Like, it's not just medicine.
Yeah.
And also it's so character driven. So I think audiences have that kind of like, like availability. They want to see the Bay. They want to see themselves. It doesn't all have to be rosy.
Okay, I love that.
And but there is something like that embrace of local
Yeah.
feels important to people. Like, so another writer that we've produced recently, Chris Chen, who actually still lives in San Francisco. I also directed a murder noir called The Headlands, which takes place in San Francisco. It's a Chinese American family story, and that also, like, wildly, like, people just showed up,
Wow.
and it, had a page turner noir sensibility, a lot of twists. Took place in neighborhoods that people live in.
Yeah.
You know,
That's a real point. I do feel like
Yeah.
San Francisco and the Bay Area really celebrates.
Yep.
It's like we really like embrace the specific like regionalisms here. And I think San Francisco, I feel like it is transient, and there are a lot of people who I'm sure just connect with like strong characters, specific story, like kind
Yeah.
of what you were starting to say around like the if it's great, if it's good,
Yeah.
then they're going to. And I feel reassured that people don't want. I think what I was afraid of and don't know is like, do people just want the representation without working for it? Or without the kind of, I guess, responsibility piece of, because sometimes I wonder about that with the Bay Area of like, and not just the Bay Area, but sometimes I feel like people in the arts sometimes want things to feel good only. And I feel like what I love so much about theater is that it's a little bit more complicated.
Yeah, no, there's always a little bit of like I don't know, there's a little pebble in the shoe.
Yeah.
Like the shoe might be a good fit, but there's a little pebble there.
There's a little pebble. That's what I meant about what I was drawn to theater and specifically small plays is like that intimacy and that intensity of the human condition
Yeah.
is like worked out. And I remember being like, whoa. I mean, I'm an intense person, so I like saw myself in that of like, maybe this is a medium where America can really like work itself out more honestly. Because I'm all into like musical theater and the big moments, but
too, yeah.
sometimes they reassure us in moments where we don't just need reassurance. We need kind of like
Yeah.
to sit in the collective audience. Like there's something so special about that moment where you're like sitting next to strangers in these dialogue, these like intense moments
Yeah,
between
100%.
characters.
Yeah. And there might not even be in a good play, there might not even be like real resolution. Like you
No.
can, what's interesting in a dialogically driven play is you might get multiple points of view.
Yes.
You might never people might, the characters on stage might never actually have their mind changed,
Yes.
but yet life continues.
Yeah. You're nailing what I'm trying to say. It's like there isn't the big resolution.
Yeah.
I think good cinema does that too. Like
Yep.
film also comes to mind, or music.
Yeah.
Like there's pieces of music where you're just on a journey and then it ends
Yeah.
and you're just like ruined.
Now what? Yeah.
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 So I like that the audiences that you're bringing at ACT are down for that ride. And I would love to, I could talk to you forever. I would love to also know like what your upcoming season's looking like what can people see? I know Kim's Convenience is going to be like September.
Yeah, really
so it's
soon.
coming up. Yeah,
Yeah.
so talk to us about what we can go support and what you're excited about.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Kim's Convenience. First off, super excited to be hosting Ins Choi, who is the playwright, as well as This was a play written about 15 years ago, and now he's old enough to play the father.
I love that.
Like, he wrote it as an underemployed actor in Toronto,
Yeah.
and wrote it in order to play the son. But 15, 16 years later, he's now playing the father. This is a really gorgeously, finely constructed comedy that takes place in a convenience store in a neighborhood in Toronto. It gave rise to, I guess in the States, we know as there's a Netflix series called Kim's Convenience. It started off on Canadian TV, but this is the play that gave launch to that.
Yes.
And it's an intergenerational story about a Korean Canadian family and its first generation, second generation, and the conflicts that arise there, and just like what it has a unity of time. It takes place all in one day, and there's an opportunity for the patriarch, for the father, to sell his business.
Yeah.
And so it really looks at, in this comedic form, looks at legacy, And there's some really like intense, as much as it's like dialogic, it's also like really intense listening moments. Like, will these within a family, like very disparate people, are they able to really listen to each other ultimately?
Let's let that question linger in here.
So it feels like
Wow.
hugely necessary, because that's sort of where we are right now.
Yes. And in that discussion, we had the Q&A, and everyone in the audience resonated with kind of that provocation from
Yeah.
all different kinds of backgrounds. Like, that was such a searing like through line for all of us.
Yeah, and this is like 100-minute comedy. It's really a comedy. You know, it has that, it's a convenience store, so you hear, you know, people open the door and it goes bing bong, and anyone can come through that door, right? But there's stuff at stake.
Yes. And when does that start? September?
Yeah, 18, 17, something like that. So soon, really
Yeah.
soon. Yeah, so super excited about that. We're also partnering, for the first time, ACT is partnering with Broadway SF, which is the big commercial theater in the city. And so there's a theater, it's sort of our sister theater next door to the Tony Remby on Geary Street, is the Curran Theater. And Broadway SF is bringing in what was a huge Tony Award-winning success of a play called Stereophonic. And through our subscription, if you get a subscription to ACT, you get great seats to Stereophonic as well.
Cool.
So that's the first time we've partnered with the commercial, you know, the big boys in the city. And I love that it's right next door. Like, in my brain, we're gonna have like big arrows on our theater, like one more door, you know, this, you're almost there, you know, 20 steps away. And it's this fantastic play that is written actually by David Adjmi, and Will Butler also composed music. He's the lead guy in Arcade Fire, the band.
Wow.
And we've now commissioned David and Will, long before we knew we would bring Stereophonic to San Francisco. We've commissioned those two artists to write a play with music or a musical based on the story of Sleepy Hollow, you know, the Headless Horseman.
Yes.
So we're really excited to be in ongoing artistic conversations with these two amazing artists, while we're also presenting their current hugely commercial sleeper of a hit. So Stereophonic takes place in a recording studio. It's loosely based on the Fleetwood Mac studio sessions where they made Rumors, the album. And it's this amazing play with music, and it's all about collaboration under pressure.
Amazing. And when does that start?
Oh, I should know this stuff. I mean, it's
You're like, go to the website.
You know, it's like January.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Something like that. Yeah,
Wow.
top of the year. Another super exciting project. It's 5 artists, 4 actors, and a director. And deep in the pandemic, this group of 5 started. So theaters shut down worldwide. And they started to first gather virtually, and then on like porches, and then ultimately in living rooms. And they started to dig into Tennessee Williams' play, A Streetcar Named Desire. And they call themselves the Streetcar Project. And they've now been doing it for years. And it's Tennessee Williams' entire play, word for word. But with 4 actors. And they have, for the last few years, they've been doing it in like storefronts and churches. I saw them in a warehouse in New York. And, you know, sort of these like found spaces. They've also done it in living rooms. And so I was in conversation with them about treating our larger theater, the Tony Remby Theater, as a found space. So we're going to have audience on the stage, and we're going to also have audience like sort of in the center orchestra, center mezzanine, and then the actors are going to, you know, put on this delicious American, you know, tragedy, you know, as if the theater as if they got the keys and ready to go.
Wow.
And that's just 2 weeks only, also in the winter.
That's so
And,
exciting.
it's super exciting. Like, it's a big American classic play.
Wow.
I wouldn't even say like reinterpreted, because it's
Yeah.
like they do it, and so it's Stanley and Blanche and Stella and Mitch, those are the 4 actors, but then they play everything else as well.
And can we find all of this information on the website?
Completely.
Okay.
Completely.
Because I want all of us to go support this.
Yeah.
And one of my big motivators for this show and talking to people like you is like, I just feel like we're in a moment right now where it's really easy to feel like there's this kind of despair that's real. And there's this intensification of all of the stakes that, to be honest, from my perspective, have always been there. That's why I always use the word they're intensifying, because they're not new.
Yeah.
But when I hear you speak, like there's this energy and aliveness that is happening alongside of it. And so, and like between it. And so I think it's also so important for us to like support and also like not just support the artists, but allow the art to like I said, to enter us.
Love it.
To kind of surround us right now. And I think it's just a reminder of what is happening always.
Yeah.
Like it's easy to feel disconnected, especially if you're not in the arts, if you're someone who's not like near or like, immersed in these worlds. Like these questions are, they're being reinterpreted, or they're just being like kind of reminded that these are the guiding lights in these moments always.
Yeah.
Whether it's this moment or another moment. But I think hearing what's happening is so important right now. And like supporting the artists, and also keeping that flame alive in us. Like, I think just my closing question is like, do you feel energized right now? Like, what is your kind of like, from where you sit, like not your hope, but like what do you want from this moment?
Yeah, I mean, I do feel energized. I mean, I'm surrounded by an amazing staff that, create platform for amazing artists, as well as students. And I mean, I remember, this is probably like 2 years ago, through one of our education partners. ACT's had like a 12-year relationship with Downtown High School. It's a great continuation high school, right? And they come into our studio spaces once a week, and they work with their own teachers from the school, as well as a teaching artist. And these students, over the course of an entire semester, come up with a theme that they're collectively interested in, and they then write and ultimately perform a play in one of our spaces that they have written. Wow. And a couple of years ago, I remember, I think it was the theme of gentrification in the Mission neighborhood. And there was a playlet, like they write like a series of small plays, and there was a playlet that they performed, and a city supervisor was represented as a character. I forget her name, but one of her staff came to see it. And then she texted with her boss. And about a month later, these students, through ACT and through this program, went to City Hall and performed that play at City Hall in front of the supervisor. Whoa. And it felt like, oh, this is like direct democracy. This is like, it's sort of like, it's stripping everything away. Yeah. These are, 17, 18, 19-year-olds who, through their schooling, have been told that they don't fit in, I'll just leave it there, and worse, right? Yeah. And they then built something, and there they were in City Hall, sharing something that they created together. Right. And so like moments like that, to be part of an organization that not only is putting on like a great comedy in the fall, but is also, just to be a part of direct democracy, intimate conversation across generation, across, all neighborhoods, is just wildly fulfilling.
It is. That's a beautiful place to leave this conversation. And I'm just really grateful to you and all the work that you've contributed, and also the work that you all do at ACT. Like, it's just so exciting to have you in here and sharing it.
Thank you. What a pleasure.
Yeah. And then
how can in a cold green room.
I know. How can we like stay in touch too with some of your own work?
Yeah. I mean, I'm I work at ACT. I still work in New York.
Yeah. Just look you up.
Yeah, just look me up.
Find
me
ya.
up. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Pam.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.